in the SoundCloud scene, he was the rising star. He really pioneered this certain sound and this certain style. Even big artists today, like Drake and others, that are using that same style. When he was in first grade, 6 years old, he was reading at an 8th grade level, and his comprehension was at a 6th grade level. We put him in a music school, and by the time he was 10 years old, he could play the majority of Green Day's library on guitar. I'm grateful to be able to share his story. He taught me, like you said, what love was. Time is our most valuable commodity that is not renewable.
Because when you get to there and then, it's still here and now. I'm here all night, folks.
We're Out of Time has reached number 3 on the Apple Podcasts mental health chart. Thank you for listening, supporting, and sharing this journey with us. Please follow the podcast, rate, and review. And if you're getting value out of We're Out of Time, share it with someone else you know.
Erik Thureson, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you.
No, the pleasure is all ours. It's horrible circumstances. You lost your son to fentanyl. He went by the name of Hella Sketchy. So he was big in the underground rap scene. And he was your boy.
Yep.
A lot of people don't understand, if they don't have children, that you don't know what love is until you have a child. You think you do, but you don't.
Right.
And so how old was he when he passed?
He was 18.
He's 18 years old.
Yep.
So what the listeners may not understand is, if they don't have children, is you got 18 years into this kid.
Yeah.
And if you're anything like me, I love my kids more every day. So my kids aren't 18 yet. So you loved your kids more than I even love my kids. Do you remember? Shh, shh, shh.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Hours.
Yeah.
Right? And your arms ached.
Right.
Right? And then you just slowly, as slow as you could, put him down in his crib. Right? Praying to God he didn't wake up. And the second you had a handle on that, everything changed. And you had to get used to the next phase. Right?
Yeah.
And it was the hardest thing you ever did.
Yeah.
But it's the best thing you ever did by miles, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
What I want to know about is, so I'm sorry, man. This is the most horrible thing. It's why I came back to work. Okay. And it's why we do this podcast, because I don't ever want anybody to go through the pain you went through. But what I want to do is I want to talk about your son, and I want you to tell me who he was, not as a rapper or any of that nonsense. I want to know who your boy was.
Yeah, it is difficult. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be able to share his story. I'm grateful to talk about him. He taught me, like you said, what love was. When he was first born, I thought I knew what love was, like you mentioned. And when the nurse handed him to me for the first time, I just wept. And I understood a little bit of a glimpse of the miraculous gift that had transpired. And he continued to teach me what love was throughout his entire life. When he was in first grade, 6 years old, 2 weeks into school, we got the phone call from the school parent teacher conference. We're like, uh-oh, he's in first grade. We're like, oh, here we go. And they brought us in. The principal was there, which I thought was odd because it's usually just with the teacher.
Right.
And they said, well, we've run some tests. Like, tests? We've been in school for 2 weeks. It's first grade. What do you mean tests? He was reading at an 8th grade level.
Really?
At 6 years old.
Wow.
And his comprehension was at a 6th grade level. And they said he's done with the work for the school day in 10 or 15 minutes.
Right.
And it's going to become a problem behaviorally because he's going to get bored very quickly. And they didn't have any gifted programs or anything at that
What'd
time.
you do with him?
Well, we gave him other things to do.
Can I ask
Yeah.
your son's real name, please?
Yeah, Jacob.
I'm not calling him Hella Sketchy.
Right. Yeah. His name was Jacob Tyler Thureson, and we gave him different extracurricular programs and after school programs and work that to stimulate his brain. And if it was Kumon or I don't even remember all of them, but so we finished out that year, and then the following year we homeschooled because we found that there's other programs that we can do during the day that were more what he was interested in. One of which was music. And we put him in a music school, which was 12-week program. They would learn a bunch of different music. And so he started playing guitar at age 6. And by the time he was 10 years old, he could play the majority of Green Day's Library on guitar.
Really?
Yeah.
At 10?
At 10.
Wow.
And by the time he was 10, 11, because they would do showcases every 12 weeks around town, and he had played all the cool band, like the Roxy, the Whiskey, the Mint at 10.
The kid played
all
Roxy
these
at 10 and the Mint on Pico.
I
I haven't been there. Do they still have that thing?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
And he just had this amazing, he was extremely gifted with intelligence and figuring things out. I was working at Fox Sports at the time, and I came home early, and he didn't know I had come home, and I was standing behind him, and he's on the computer coding in the command line. No graphic user interface or just straight code. So I stood there for 5-10 minutes watching him, and I realized he's coding in a very complex back-end programming language called Java. And I said, "How did you learn how to do that?" And he's startled because he didn't know I was standing there. And he's like, "I just figured it out." And I went online and I said, "Well, what exactly are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm making it rain." So he's coding his Minecraft server on making it rain, which I thought was really, and at that moment, I had no worry that whatever he set his mind to, that he was going to be successful at.
Tell me about, and how old is he now? He's 10.
Yeah, he was 10 at that time.
All right, get me to 12.
We lived right across the street for a period of time from Pedlo Skate Park, and he would skate.
So he's a cool genius.
He was a cool genius. He would do amazing trick shots on video games and post them on YouTube. And I think that's where his stage name came from. His video game handle was Hella Sketchy, and I think he might have heard me say that when we were playing Call of Duty at some point. And then that just stuck as he was making these beats like these other artists, as he was creating these videos and whatnot, and just having the best life and doing well. Went to church. He was super compliant. He was always very kind and very considerate of others, and just the most loving kid you could imagine. Didn't get in altercations with the
When did he
other
start
people.
doing drugs? Well, when did he do drugs first, or did he blow up in the music scene first?
I think it was pretty close to the same time.
Okay.
The first time we discovered that he was experimenting with drugs was he was in the bathroom upstairs smoking weed.
How old was he?
He was 14,
Okay.
13 or 14.
Okay.
This is the first time that we discovered it.
That's right.
And he was blowing the smoke out.
Hold on a second. You're the type of father who's spending all your time with the kid, with Jacob. You're playing video games with him. You'll know whether or not he's been using. So you guys caught that real fast.
Sure.
Okay. Go on.
And he's blowing smoke out the window, not realizing that smoke's also coming out from under the door.
Right.
And we knew what pot was. We knew what this, we're like, what's going on? We were in Texas and there are skunks and whatnot out there, but it was weird. Right. So we knock on the door. Hey, what's going on in there? He starts panicking and whatnot. And we just sat down and talked to him about it. We didn't make a big deal out of it. We weren't freaking out. And we're like, look, we understand. We've gone through that. And if there's something that you're curious about, let's have a talk about it. We had a very open dialogue.
Do you know what year this was in 14?
This would have been
14.
This would have been 2015. Happened a couple times in it. It seemed like that he had experienced it. It wasn't for him, and he had moved on. The next discovery that we had, and this is right around the point where he's blowing up. He's blowing up on SoundCloud. We have no idea until he had a song with Taite that required a contract, and at 15 he can't sign the contract.
You didn't realize it until the kid walked in with a wad like this, hundreds. Right. Then you're like, where'd you get the money?
Yeah.
Right. Drug dealing's bad.
And at 15 he was making more money than we were,
for sure,
selling music.
Right.
And it was remarkable. And we always gave him all the resources that he needed for anything, whether it was his computer or phone or instruments, whatever it was.
Sure.
And one day he was at some event with some other kids, and we went to pick him up. And as he gets in the car, it was as if he was drunk. He was kind of dopey, and he bumps his head on the top of the car getting in.
How old is this?
He was 16.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're like, "Are you okay?" And he was just not. We could tell something was up. We just didn't know. His sisters were in the car, so we didn't make a big deal out of it in the car. Wait till we got home. And that's when we found out that he had figured out how to order illicit drugs on the dark web using a ghost operating system. And he would get it delivered in other packages directly to the house. Like they would put it in a box of his favorite candy or whatever. There were some things that we couldn't get in Texas that he really liked from California.
Okay.
And some like pop chips was one of them. And he would get things delivered inside these packages. Now, we had no reason not to trust him. So we're not going through all the packages to see what's in it.
Of course not.
We open the box and it's a box of pop chips. And we're like, oh, okay, have at it. And that evening, my wife goes upstairs and looks in his room, specifically in his backpack, and finds a whole bunch of Xanax and Molly and some other pills, which we didn't know at the time what it was.
And the kid's 16.
Yeah, and he's 16. He runs out the door. I chase him down the street, and now he's terrified because he knows I'm pissed, and he's never seen me that angry before.
Right.
And yeah, I was angry, but I was concerned at the same time. Probably
you were angry because you were concerned.
Yeah. And got him back in the house, and then that's when the program started. Inpatient program. Well,
at 16?
Outpatient program.
So you were sending him to all these teen centers.
So we did counseling. We did psychiatry. We he was clinically diagnosed with depression and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And then so he was medicated for that.
Mm-hmm.
He was in an outpatient program, which was 3 days a week. We would go
Mm-hmm.
and we would participate with the second half of that.
Did he go into a rehab?
He did go into a rehab, which was an inpatient program. He was about to graduate the outpatient program the final week. As a matter of fact, we were at the final day. And the day before, he gets some LSD or something from one of the kids in the program and then has this episode. And it was really scary. The cops showed up to the house. It's 3:00 in the morning. They wrestle him to the floor so that they can sedate him. His heart rate was north of 185 beats per minute. And we weren't sure if he was going to make it. So they rushed him to the hospital. And this was the second time in the ER. And my wife and I, we just like, we don't know. We're out of options. We were going to do an inpatient program. And he was not happy about that at all because his music career's starting to take off. And now we're putting him in this program where he's essentially going to not have access to anything for who knows how long. It was 90 days initially, ended up being 74. And his part of his frustration too was being in there. There were a lot of every other kid that was in there because they were in trouble with the law. It was either that or they're going to prison,
right?
Or they're going to juvie.
You typically don't want to put your kid there.
And he didn't have that.
Can I stop you for a second? Here's the thing, okay? I'm not a big shot. Anytime you guys have a question about you or a loved one or somebody using drugs and alcohol, DM me.
Mm-hmm.
DM me. Okay? Because here's a perfect example. You did the best you could,
yep.
But you're not in this industry.
Right.
And some people think, I kind of know something
mm-hmm.
in this industry, right? So you would have called me. I would have said, okay, and I would have found you the right place.
Right.
Right. So that he wasn't with people who were not like-minded.
Right.
Right. Your kid is there because he loves his father and he knows he's got to go and get right. And he's there with a bunch of guys that are just doing time until they can go out and get loaded.
Right.
Okay. And that's not the place. So just DM me. I get back to everybody.
Yeah.
You guys are exhausting me. Okay. We just found out that we are the number 3 rated mental health podcast in the world, according to Apple.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Isn't that sick?
Yeah.
We've been doing this for 7 months.
Yeah. And it shows you how needed this work is. And I'm extremely grateful that you're doing it. It's my purpose now.
Yeah.
It's my purpose to be partnered with you in this work.
Good. I need all the help I can get.
Yeah.
And it's because I don't ever want to feel like you felt.
Yeah.
Or like my buddy Matt Capilouto felt.
Mm.
You know Matt.
Mm-hmm.
He was on for Fentanyl Awareness Day.
Yeah.
It was on the 28th or 29th.
Wow.
That's when we and Nathan Hawkman opened the show.
Wow.
Right? Who introduced me to Matt. Tell me about, we're going a little out of order.
Yeah, it's
okay.
All good.
So how long did he stay at the inpatient program?
74 days.
Okay.
He was in.
And when he got out?
When he got out, he was grateful to be out. He was grateful to get back to doing music. He seemed like we got the old Jacob back.
Okay. Is he 17 at this point?
Let's see. Not yet.
Okay.
He had gotten out. So he got out right before Thanksgiving and then his birthday is in January. So.
Okay. So he's 16, moving over to 17 right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's out. but now he spirals into more drug addiction, right?
So it was off and on.
Okay.
He found better ways to hide it and wasn't doing it in the normal hours that we would interact with him.
So you're doing it all night.
Mm-hmm.
What, while you're sleeping, what is in sleeping late?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What was he using?
Xanax. He was on perks.
Yeah.
And then there was the medically supervised stuff that he was on that he was frustrated with because that was making him feel worse.
The psych meds.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I took him to his second appointment in that space, and he was on 3 milligrams of Percocet, I think. And they came in and asked him how he was feeling, asked him how he was managing with the meds. And he said, well, I've got worse insomnia. I've got suicidal thoughts. It's making me more anxious than.
And you're listening to this.
And I'm sitting right next to him.
How are you feeling when you're hearing your son say he's got suicidal thoughts?
My heart just sank. And I'm curious at the same time. I'm curious as how and I don't want to demonize medical professionals. They do a lot of work, good work. Yet they didn't ask him about his diet. They didn't ask him about his physical activity. They heard him say that he was struggling with insomnia, but they didn't really ask any details about his sleep or rest or his lifestyle.
I know.
And they immediately said, well, perhaps the dose isn't high enough, so we're going to double it to 6 milligrams. And so for me, I went from curious and deeply saddened because of how he was feeling to
angry,
livid.
Right.
I was livid. And I knew if I had said anything, it wasn't going to be good. Any of the words that were about to come out of my mouth. So I didn't say anything. They asked me if I had any other questions. I said no. They wrote the prescription. We walked out. And you're supposed to check in with the front desk to make another appointment, which we did not do. We kept walking, and he's looking at me, wondering why we're not doing that. And I looked at him, crumpled up the prescription, threw it in the trash as we walked out. And I said, these people don't care about you. We're going to find something else or someone else. We're going to keep going on this journey until we can get you the help that you need. And he felt relieved because the medication wasn't helping him.
He felt relieved because he was heard by his father and seen by his father, and you did the blocking and tackling for your son. That's why.
That's a great way to put it.
That's exactly how he felt though. All right. That's a good man. All right. So go on.
And I appreciate your encouragement for people to reach out.
You got to,
because we did the best we could with what we knew at that time.
I know.
And there's so many other options and things available to us that we just didn't know.
There's so many bad places, man. And there just are. And especially in the climate today, it's even worse than it was when your kid was going, because the climate is so tough and there are so many people going out of business, right? That they're working on skeleton crews. I talked to somebody yesterday. They're telling me that they're struggling and what their overhead is. And I'm like, that's all your overhead is? And so I know immediately, no nurses, no staff, flop house. Right. It's like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's not when a parent or a husband or a wife or whatever is going through something this traumatic, right? Where their everything is on drugs.
Yeah.
So it's just important. It's important to make certain that you find the right fit,
right,
to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And, you know, you guys don't know because that's not what you do. You worked at Fox Sports. What'd you do at Fox Sports?
I was a senior application developer and product developer.
See, I couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell that means.
You ever played fantasy football?
No.
Yeah, that was one of the projects that we worked on.
Really?
Yeah.
You developed fantasy football
for the Fox Sports platform.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then worked on the NFL products as well. That's where I went after Fox Sports.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to get back to he's now 17. He just turned 17.
Mm-hmm. You
said he passed at 18. Actually, he was murdered at 18, but we'll get to that. Okay. How I want the progression from 17 to when he passed.
So at that time we were in Austin, Texas. So I think that might be an important part of the story because at 13 years old, we uproot him from all of what he's familiar with here in Los Angeles, and we move to Austin.
Right. At 13?
At 13.
Okay, that's tough.
So there's a change of environment. He's not close to the same friends. He's got to build new friends, etc. By the time 17 hits, we move to Arizona.
So you uprooted him twice.
And at that point, his music career is, once he got out of the inpatient program, he got back to work and
blew up.
He was like in the SoundCloud scene, he was the rising star. And
that's what Dylan was telling me. Dylan was telling me he was everything.
There's some types of beats that he created. Has been named like happy trap or this really wavy trap music that he kind of came out of, but he really pioneered this certain sound and this certain style. And even big artists today that I'm sure you've heard of, like Drake and others, that are using that same style.
Wow.
And even the record label execs were looking at him, and when he was in the recording studio, they would give him free time when people canceled, because he lived at half a mile from the recording studio off of Fairfax and La Brea. And if someone canceled or if there are big gaps, he had a free pass to come in because the way that he worked with people, and
he was professional. He'd walk in, do his stuff.
And he was kind to people.
Right.
He was kind. He was joyful. Like, he cared about other people. He was HSP and an empath. HSP is a psychological term for highly sensitive person. Meaning, if you felt something, if you were angry or if you were sad or if you were joyful, he would feel that with the same degree of distinction as if it was his own feelings.
I know.
And didn't know how to separate that.
We know what I've got, man. Go on.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Said the guy with the 3rd-rated mental health podcast.
And
really do some more analysis on myself. Go on.
At this point, at 17, he gets signed with Atlantic Records. He gets a pretty nice record deal. He moves to LA so that he could be close to the recording studio and then with the other artists that are coming in and he's working with.
Sure.
And
where are you at this time?
And we're in Phoenix.
Okay.
And his uncle is staying with him probably 4 or 5 out of 7 days of the week.
Okay, cool.
So there's some...
Your brother.
Yeah, and he was also his manager as well.
Okay, good.
And so he had some supervision. So we're like, okay, he's about to turn 18. He's an adult. He's going to do what he's going to do. He's got some supervision in place. We felt great about it. And at that point, it seemed like he had a handle on sobriety. Releases the first album and gets kind of caught up in the excitement of the first album coming out and is intoxicated on what I don't know. But it was pretty clear he was intoxicated at the album release party, which we just drove past the place on Fairfax as we were coming here. And so we were asking the questions and leaning in and
asking the questions. What are you on?
Yeah. Is this a problem? Are you it? What's happening? And he assured us that it wasn't a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then was going to some programs while he was here with his uncle.
Some outpatient programs?
It was like 12-step program.
Okay, so he's going to AA.
It seems like he's trying to get a handle on it.
Uh-huh.
And there was a period of time where it seemed like he was doing really well. He got a girlfriend shortly after the album release, and he's doing lives, walking the dog outside, getting exercise and getting out in the sun and not sitting holed up in a room somewhere all day. And it seemed like he was doing well. And we had come out, and this was June, the first week of June. I was here for a film conference. And then we spent the next few days just hanging out with him and his girlfriend, and had probably the best weekend that we had ever had. He was present. He was initiating, and we went go-karting. We went to Peaches Tacos. We did all the things and just had a great time. And we were feeling like, okay, he's got a handle on this. This is great. Only to fast forward a week later, we get the call that he's been admitted to the hospital. And well, he had been in the ER before a number of times. So we're like, not sure. Is this one of those times? Is it we just went too hard? And the doctor said you should probably come. But they weren't giving us any information beyond that.
Right.
And we show up, and this is a Thursday. And he's in a coma, not responsive. He's in this hypothermic treatment, which they drop the body temperature down to like 94, 93, which increases their chance of recovery by like 30% for any cardiac arrest. And it was bad. It was really bad. And I was angry. I was devastated, and I was wrestling with God. So the next morning, which was Friday, I prayed this very simple prayer. I said, God, you know what I want. I want this young man to walk out of here. I said, however, if it is going to be for the greater good that you take him now, then so be it. But I was still holding on. Like I wanted what I wanted. And then different things unfolded that day. And then the next day, which was Saturday, I prayed the same thing. Very simple. God, you know what I want. But if it's for the greater good, that that you take them now, then so be it. The next day, which was Sunday, was Father's Day of all days. And I prayed the same thing. And that day was different because when I got up in that moment, there was this peace that came over me. And I was able to surrender the outcome. And I realized that whatever occurred, I didn't have control over. And the doctors didn't have control over it. And what was going to happen was going to happen. And I had the peace that knowing whatever happened was going to be for the best. And then the Spirit gave me this phrase at the end of it all, because he was in the ICU for 2 weeks, in a coma the whole time, unresponsive, according to the medical staff. I believe that he could hear us. I believe that there was some interaction on a spirit level. I don't know how to explain it, and words are insufficient to describe what had unfolded. But the phrase was steward your suffering well. And I've come to define that as to lean back into the pain and the suffering of that story over and over and over and do things like this. Because perhaps in doing so, that it might save some. It might serve some.
That is heartbreaking. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
My brain just went blank. It's a lot of it for me has been supporting people online and from behind the scenes, sharing and being available. And my wife shared her phone number during Jacob's memorial, and she wrote a book called Beautiful Tragedy and unpacked some of the things that she's a grief counselor, so there's grief tools that and she put her phone number in the book as well. So we get calls from everywhere, and we make ourselves available, much like what you're doing. And the calls that we've fielded from all over have been talking people into getting sober. There was one kid from the UK where he had taken a bunch of pills and was trying to end his life, and then was afraid to talk to his dad. Now this is 4:00 a.m. And
he called you.
And he called my wife because her phone number was available.
And she loved him until he was fine.
We stayed on the phone with him until the paramedics showed up, and he communicated with his dad. We're like, look, don't be afraid. Your dad is going to probably be upset because you're hurting. It's not about what you're doing. And
that's beautifully said, by the way.
That's one story of many. People getting sober, people choosing not to end their life, and that work is it continues to unfold. Encouragement for.
Where can I buy the book?
I'll gift you the book.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Where can they buy the book?
It's available on Amazon.
What's it called?
The Beautiful Tragedy.
And what's your wife's full name?
Judy Thureson. And there's a lot of great tools in it that she used, and she unfolds it in real time of, hey, this is how she navigated being in this situation and then is able to thrive afterwards.
Every parent of a child right now should read that book. Every single parent of a child that is 10 years old plus should read that book.
Yeah.
You guys were really close.
Yeah.
You loved your son.
Yeah.
You got any other kids?
Yeah, we have 2 daughters, Emma and Sydney. I was 23 and Sydney's 18.
How are they doing with this?
They're doing pretty well, actually. I think Sydney, being 12 or 13 at the time, I was really surprised at how well she handled it and continues to handle it. Emma, only being 16 months apart from him, they were really close, and she had a harder time. She doesn't like talking about it. And
do they have therapists?
We went through therapy.
Do they have therapists currently?
That's a good question. Sydney doesn't. I'm not sure if Emma does. Emma lives out here.
Listen. That's something that needs to be done. Like now. Like yesterday. Okay? You have to do that.
Yeah, well, we'll do it right now.
Damn straight.
We don't waste time.
No. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today, people.
Yeah.
See this?
Decisive action.
Right now.
Right here.
Let's get back to now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is now. Let's get back to now.
Yep.
Or we can just make an appointment for a Zoom at the end of May. Fuck.
All right.
Everybody wants to make an appointment now. Nobody wants to work, but everyone wants to make an appointment to discuss it and then not do shit about it.
Right. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned in the last 5 years. When Jacob passed, one of the things I've realized is the most valuable thing that we have is now. Time is our most valuable commodity that is not renewable.
Because when you get to there and then, it's still here and now.
Right.
I like that. I'm here all night, folks.
And taking decisive action is going to maximize the impact of the time that we have.
You got it, man. You can't have that type of traumatic event in the family system and not have the girls screwed up by it.
Yeah.
And you've lost one kid.
Yeah.
So let's get on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I found the ability to sit in sadness and joy simultaneously in the same space and in gratitude. And it came when we were filming at Jacob's burial site. And I can't go there and not just be an absolute mess.
Right.
Because it's the exclamation point on what happened.
Right.
And Grayson, my BTS producer, was interviewing me. It was not scripted. It wasn't part of what we were doing for the film. He just turned the camera on me and asked a couple of questions in that moment. And through tears, I was expressing my gratitude. And how could I be grateful for my son being dead? Because that's the worst nightmare I could possibly imagine. Yet in that moment, I felt an immense sense of gratitude for the time that I had with him the things that he had shared with me and taught me, and even in his death taught me the importance of right now, the importance of each moment that we have and what we're doing with that. What kind of difference are we making with right now? And I don't know if this doesn't happen, I don't step into creating Cupid Soldiers films, Cupid Soldiers records, Cupid Soldiers animation with his legacy. I don't step into those things. I don't step into the purpose of being an advocate for mental health. I may be sitting in the comfy broadcast engineering job with my comfy benefits and not making a difference and just not really living. I mean, I'm breathing and I'm above ground, but not making a difference.
Yeah, you're a unicorn, man. Nobody feels that way when they lose a kid.
Yeah.
I can't even discuss it.
Yeah.
All right. Enough. How can people find you?
I'm on Instagram, Twitter, at Erik Thureson, Facebook.
Spell Erik Thureson.
ErikThureson.
You know what? That's just I'm sorry, I got to do a rant. Okay? I'm so lucky that I said spell out your full name, because everyone thinks it's a C and not a K.
Yeah. I recently heard C is for clowns and K is for king. So
okay. Well, I'm going to have to tell all my friends Mark that.
Yeah.
Okay. Another name that freaks me out. Mark. Is it a K or is it a C?
Yeah.
Stop it. So bad.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
See you next Tuesday.
If you or a loved one is struggling, we have a number that you can call, and we'll help you find the best treatment that is right for you. Our company, One Call Placement, is dedicated to helping you, and we'll find the best treatment that is right for you. So call now at 888-808-6159. Again, that's 888-808-6159.
We're out of time. Please subscribe on YouTube, click the thumbs up, and leave a comment. Please subscribe on Apple Podcast and Spotify and leave a rating and a review. And share the We're Out of Time podcast with others you know who will get value out of it. See you next Tuesday.